The calm before the storm. The galaxy was silent as Earth stood at the edge of a great unknown. The stars sparkled quietly in the distance, but there was an uneasy tension that hung in the air. Something was coming. Something terrifying. The fleets of the alien empire were heading toward Earth, and everyone on the planet knew it. For months, strange signals had been picked up from deep space, and whispers of an approaching fleet had spread like wildfire. At first, it had seemed like a rumor, a far-off danger that couldn't be real. But as the signals grew stronger, the governments of Earth knew it was no longer a question of if the enemy would arrive, but when. Across the world, humanity prepared for war. Armies trained harder than ever before. Governments put their best minds together to strategize. Earth's best weapons were ready to strike, or so they thought. The alien empire, known for their brutal and overwhelming conquests, had crushed entire civilizations in the blink of an eye. The word invincible seemed to describe them perfectly. It was said that the Empire's fleets were so vast, they could easily conquer a planet by sheer force alone. But then, the unexpected happened. The human leaders, desperate but not defeated, made a choice. Earth could not match the enemy in sheer numbers, but they could use their greatest strength, ingenuity. They had a plan that no one could have predicted. Instead of sending out a fleet to fight, they would send a single ship. One ship. To some, it was madness. The military generals were furious. A single ship? Against an entire fleet, they argued. It's suicide. They couldn't fathom how one ship could possibly stand a chance against the might of the alien empire. But the decision had already been made. The humans would take a gamble, one that would require everything they had. The chosen ship was equipped with the latest technology, secret weapons, and a crew of the best and brightest humans, men and women who had dedicated their lives to the defense of Earth. The ship was named the Phoenix, after the mythical bird that rises from its own ashes. It was a symbol of hope in the face of certain destruction. The captain of the Phoenix, a calm and composed officer named Captain Arrogance Williams, stood at the helm, looking out at the stars. She had always believed in the strength of humanity, in their ability to find a way where others saw none. But now, as the fleet of aliens neared, she was filled with a mix of determination and doubt. Could one ship really make a difference? The ship's engines hummed softly beneath her feet as she looked out the window of the command center. The enemy was out there, close now. She could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. Earth's fate was in her hands, and yet all she had were a few dozen men and women. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and underprepared for a battle of this scale. But Arrogance believed in her crew. She believed in the power of human ingenuity. At the same time, somewhere far beyond Earth, the alien empire's fleet was preparing. Their vast ships, each one larger than a city, moved through space like a storm. The aliens were known for their strength, their advanced technology, and their ruthlessness. They expected a fight, but they were not expecting this. The alien commanders, confident in their victory, scoffed at the human forces. One ship, they said. How quaint. This will be over before it begins. They saw it as a game, a chance to wipe out the final defiant species in the galaxy. They didn't believe for a second that humanity could stand up to their mighty fleet. But as the alien fleet moved closer to Earth, the humans were ready. Not in the way the aliens expected, but in their own unique way. Captain Arrogance Williams stood in front of her crew, her face set with determination. She didn't know what the outcome would be, but she knew one thing for sure. Humanity was not going to go down without a fight. They had one chance, and she would take it. The Phoenix would make its stand, and whatever happened, Earth would not surrender easily. As the enemy fleet approached Earth's atmosphere, the crew of the Phoenix prepared for the impossible. There was no time to second-guess their decision. The battle for Earth had begun, and all they had was one ship. The alien fleet was already in view, massive, imposing, and ready for destruction. It was a sight that would have broken the spirits of any other species, but not humanity. Humanity would face this enemy head-on, with everything they had. But what the aliens didn't know, what they couldn't understand, was that humanity had one thing that they would never have: the ability to surprise. And that was about to make all the difference. With a deep breath, Captain Area Williams gave the command. Prepare for engagement. A shocking decision. The air in the command center was thick with tension. The hum of machinery echoed around Captain Area Williams as she paced in front of the large windows, staring out at the enemy fleet slowly drawing closer to Earth. The vastness of space, once a source of wonder, now felt suffocating. She could see their ships, massive and foreboding, like a swarm of locusts descending on Earth. It was hard to believe that humanity's survival could rest on the shoulders of one ship. Inside the war room, a heated argument was taking place. Earth's military leaders were furious, their voices rising in frustration as they tried to grasp the gravity of the situation. General Harker, a man with decades of experience in the military, slammed his fist on the table. One ship. Are we really going to risk everything on a single vessel? This is madness, he shouted. He turned toward the other officers around the table. We've got a fleet at our disposal. We should be sending every ship we have to meet them head-on, not relying on one ship to somehow pull off the impossible. The other officers nodded in agreement, their faces hard with disbelief. But standing at the head of the table, Commander Jacob Foster, Earth's highest military leader, did not react. His face was calm, betraying none of the unease he must have felt inside. "General," Foster spoke, his voice low and measured. "I understand your concerns, but our situation is dire. We don't have the numbers to take on the entire fleet head-to-head. We've lost too many ships already just trying to keep them at bay. This one ship, it's our only chance." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the gravity of his words. The generals and officers exchanged looks of uncertainty, but no one dared to speak against their commander. General Harker's frustration turned to confusion. But how can we expect one ship to stand up to their fleet? They've crushed entire worlds before. This is insane. Commander Foster stepped forward, his eyes meeting Harker's. Humanity's strength doesn't lie in our numbers. It lies in our creativity, our resourcefulness. We have a weapon they can't predict. He turned to the map displayed on the wall, pointing at Earth's location in the vastness of space. The Phoenix may only be one ship, but it's a ship unlike any the aliens have ever encountered. It's equipped with technologies they don't understand, and a crew trained to think outside the box. We're not sending them into a battle. We're sending them into a fight they won't see coming. The room remained tense, but there was a shift in the air. No one knew if this bold strategy would work, but it was their only hope. And they all knew that humanity had no choice but to try. Captain Williams, who had been listening quietly from the back of the room, finally spoke. Her voice was steady, but carried the weight of responsibility. "We'll give them everything we've got," she said. "I believe in my crew, I believe in this ship, and I believe in humanity's ability to do the impossible. We'll surprise them." Her words, simple yet powerful, seemed to calm the room. The leaders knew she was right. There was no turning back now. Commander Foster nodded, turning to face the others. "This decision is final. We send the Phoenix, and it is up to them to change the course of this war. They may have the numbers, but we have the will. Now let's make sure we give them the best chance to succeed." A few murmurs of agreement ran through the room as everyone prepared for what lay ahead. The strategy had been set in stone, and nothing could alter it now. The Phoenix would be humanity's last stand. Outside the command center, the atmosphere had shifted. People were no longer just preparing for war. They were preparing for a fight that seemed impossible to win. But there was something in the air, something that no one could quite put into words. It was the spark of defiance. The human spirit had always thrived in the face of adversity, and now that spirit would be tested as never before. Back on the Phoenix, Captain Williams was already meeting with her crew, their faces filled with a mix of uncertainty and determination. The ship was ready, but the question remained, would one ship, with a handful of humans aboard, be enough to face the mighty alien empire? Captain Williams took a deep breath, looking each crew member in the eye. "Humanity doesn't give up," she said. "We may be small, we may be outnumbered, but we will not go down without a fight. Now let's make them regret ever underestimating us." With that, the crew set to their tasks, each one preparing for the battle ahead. They didn't know how the fight would go, but they knew this. Whatever happened, they were going to give it everything they had. The alien fleet was drawing nearer, and Earth's last hope was about to take flight. Would one ship be enough to change the course of the war? It was a question that would soon be answered, but only if humanity could rise to the challenge. The calm before the storm was ending. A battle unlike any other was about to begin. The human spirit shines through. The hum of the engines filled the command deck of the Phoenix as Captain Arya Williams stood by the viewport, staring out at the approaching alien fleet. The sheer size of the ships was overwhelming, like a storm about to break over a calm sea. She took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. This was no longer just about strategy or tactics. This was about humanity's survival, and she knew that one ship, no matter how well equipped, could not face the full might of the alien empire without more than just weapons. The crew behind her moved with quiet precision. They were ready for battle, but more than that, they were ready to prove something, that humanity could rise against all odds. These were not just soldiers, they were engineers, scientists, and civilians who had been thrust into a role they never expected. And yet, they were united in their purpose. They had a mission: to protect Earth, to stand against the invaders who thought they could simply sweep the humans aside. As the ship slowly moved closer to the enemy fleet, the tension in the command center rose. There was no going back now. Arya turned to her first officer, Lieutenant Mark Carter, who stood by the control panel, eyes fixed on the monitors. "We got one shot at this," she said quietly, more to herself than to anyone else. Lieutenant Carter nodded, his face set with determination. "We know the plan, Captain. We're ready." The crew was ready too. Their training had been intense, focusing not just on military tactics, but on problem-solving in the heat of battle. They weren't just going to fight. They were going to think their way through the fight. Every crew member knew their job, but more importantly, they knew the stakes. This wasn't just about victory. It was about proving that humanity had something the aliens couldn't predict: resourcefulness. As the Phoenix neared the outer perimeter of the alien fleet, the ship's communications officer, Ensign Leah Park, spoke up. "Captain, we're picking up a transmission from the enemy flagship. They're taunting us." Arya's eyes narrowed. She had expected this. The alien fleet had underestimated humanity, and now they were showing it in full force. She tapped a button on the console, and the transmission came through. A deep, guttural voice crackled over the speakers. "You are foolish to challenge us, human. You send one ship against an entire fleet. You are already defeated." The voice was mocking, confident, almost amused. The alien commander clearly didn't see the human crew as a serious threat. Arya let out a slow, controlled breath. She could feel her crew watching her, waiting for her next move. The moment of doubt had passed. This was their chance to prove themselves. "We'll see about that," she muttered under her breath. She looked around the room, making eye contact with each of her crew members. "Stay focused. We're not just going to survive this. We're going to make them regret ever underestimating us." Her words were simple, but they carried weight. The human spirit, she knew, was the one thing the enemy couldn't comprehend. No matter how advanced their technology, no matter how many ships they had, they couldn't understand the strength that came from desperation and hope. The strength of a species that refused to go quietly into the night. The first wave of the alien fleet surged toward them, its ships moving like dark, imposing shadows in the void of space. Their weapons were ready, their shields were up, and they were prepared to destroy this one ship with ease. The Phoenix, however, wasn't going to play by their rules. The human crew had a plan, and it was one the aliens wouldn't see coming. "Engage evasive maneuvers," Aria ordered, her voice steady. "Let's show them what humanity can do." In an instant, the Phoenix veered sharply to the left, dodging the first volley of enemy fire. The alien ships were huge, their weapons powerful, but they were also slow. The Phoenix, though outnumbered and outgunned, was smaller, faster, and more agile. The crew moved quickly, each one operating with a precision that came from months of preparation. "We've got a lock on their rear thrusters, Captain," said Lieutenant Carter. "Ready to fire on your command." Aria nodded. She didn't hesitate. "Take the shot." A burst of energy erupted from the Phoenix's cannons, hitting one of the alien ship's dead center in its vulnerable thrusters. The alien ship shuddered, sparks flying from its engines as it spiraled out of control. The alien fleet commander barked an order, and the fleet shifted, adjusting their tactics to account for this unexpected turn of events. But it was too late. The human ship had already proven that it could strike when and where it was least expected. "Direct hit. We've got them on the run," Ensign Park reported. Aria felt a surge of hope as she watched the alien ship plummet toward the depths of space, crippled and burning. But the battle wasn't over. The alien fleet had noticed the disruption, and their response was swift. More ships moved into position, their weapons firing in unison, sending waves of destructive energy toward the Phoenix. But humanity was used to being the underdog. They were used to fighting for their survival with everything they had. The crew of the Phoenix knew that this moment, the moment when they were up against impossible odds, was where they could make history. It wasn't about firepower. It wasn't about strength. It was about heart. And humanity had a lot of heart. As the crew fought back, using every ounce of their skill and courage, they proved that the human spirit could shine even in the darkest of times. The alien fleet was not prepared for the determination that burned in the hearts of these human fighters. "Keep pushing forward," Captain Williams called, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We're not finished yet." The Phoenix was outnumbered, but its crew was not outclassed. Each move they made was calculated, a testament to their spirit, their hope, and their will to survive. The aliens may have had the fleet, but humanity had the fire to keep fighting, no matter how impossible the odds. And as the battle raged on, one thing became clear: humanity wasn't just going to survive. They were going to fight with everything they had, and they would make the enemy realize that they had underestimated them all along. The first encounter. The battle had begun in earnest. The Phoenix was small, sleek, and fast. Its crew relied on speed and agility to dodge the overwhelming power of the alien fleet. The massive ships of the enemy loomed in the distance, their weapons capable of destroying entire cities with a single shot. Yet, the Phoenix weaved through the void, a tiny spark darting among giants. The human crew was determined to survive, but it wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving that they had more to offer than the aliens could ever anticipate. Captain Aria Williams stood at the command center, her eyes locked. The alien ships fired back with even greater intensity, but the Phoenix was a blur in space, dodging their attacks. The alien commanders were accustomed to dominating their enemies through sheer power, but humanity fought in a different way. They fought with their minds, with strategy, and with something the aliens had long forgotten: creativity. As the alien flagship struggled to stay afloat, the human ship made another quick maneuver, cutting across its path and delivering another direct hit to the alien command ship's communication array. Sparks flew across the enemy vessel, and the ship's communication systems went down. The alien fleet's coordinated attacks faltered. The balance of power was shifting. Direct hit. "Their communication systems are offline," Ensign Park announced. "We've thrown them into disarray." Aria's heart raced. This was their moment. "Keep the pressure on," she commanded. "We don't stop until we take them down. Give them no time to regroup." The Phoenix continued to dart in and out of the alien fleet, like a predator hunting its prey. As the enemy flagship struggled to regain its bearings, the Phoenix took advantage of every mistake the aliens made. With each passing moment, the alien fleet grew more disorganized, more vulnerable. For a brief moment, the alien commander on the flagship watched in disbelief as the human ship, a single vessel, moved with incredible precision, as if it had anticipated every move. The commander's confidence began to erode, replaced by a growing sense of doubt. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and that mistake was costing them dearly. "You should have sent more than one ship," Arya said to herself, her voice barely a whisper. She had no time to revel in the small victory. The battle was far from over. The enemy fleet was still vast, still powerful, and still coming for them. But the Phoenix had a chance now. A real chance. The alien flagship was crippled, and the rest of the fleet was struggling to coordinate. The crew of the Phoenix had done the impossible. They had shaken the aliens' confidence, and now it was time to push their advantage. "Lieutenant, set a course for their rear flank," Arya ordered. "If we hit them from the back, we can cripple their remaining forces." "We're moving now, Captain," Carter replied, his fingers flying over the controls. The Phoenix shifted course, darting toward the unprotected rear of the alien fleet. As they drew closer, Arya knew they had only one shot. If they missed, the entire fleet would close in on them, and the Phoenix would be lost. But if they succeeded, they could break the enemy's back. "Firing on my mark," she said, her voice steady, calm despite the chaos around her. The crew braced themselves as the Phoenix powered forward, charging straight for the heart of the alien fleet. They were no longer just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. And with that, they'd made their move. Unexpected strategies. The Phoenix moved swiftly through the chaos of the battle, its small frame darting between the hulking alien ships, now disorganized and unsure of how to respond to the human ship's relentless, unpredictable movements. Every maneuver, every shot, had been planned with precision, and the aliens were struggling to adapt to a fight they had never expected. The crew of the Phoenix had done something the enemy never anticipated. They had turned the rules of war on their head. Captain Arya Williams stood in the command center, her gaze fixed on the tactical display as the alien fleet tried to recover from their earlier disarray. The enemy ships had begun to regroup, their formations tightening and their weapons targeting the Phoenix with deadly intent. But Arya knew that this battle wasn't about who had the bigger guns. It was about who could outthink the other. And humanity had a way of thinking differently. "Captain," Lieutenant Carter called from the weapons console. "They're adjusting their formations. They're trying to trap us. They're not underestimating us anymore." Arya studied the new formations of the alien fleet. The enemy had regrouped, using their overwhelming numbers to encircle the Phoenix, cutting off any chance of escape. If they didn't act fast, the crew's hard work could all be for nothing. "They're learning," Arya murmured, but then a small smile tugged at the corners of her lips. "But we've got something they don't: unpredictability." She turned to her crew, her voice sharp and filled with renewed confidence. "This is where we turn the tables. The enemy thinks they have us cornered, but they're wrong. We're going to show them that no one can predict humanity's next move." The Phoenix veered left, dodging a powerful shot from one of the alien ships. The crew worked seamlessly, every action a step in their plan to keep the enemy off balance. But now they had to do something that would shake the aliens to their core, a move they would never expect. "Prepare to activate the stealth module," Arya commanded. "Let's take them by surprise." Ensign Park quickly nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. "Stealth module engage. We'll be invisible to their sensors for the next 5 minutes." With that, the Phoenix vanished from the alien fleet's radar, becoming a ghost in the dark expanse of space. For a moment, the battle seemed to pause, the two sides waiting for the other to make the next move. The alien fleet began to slow down, confused by the sudden disappearance of their target. The human ship was no longer visible, and the alien commanders were left scrambling, unable to locate the one ship that had caused them so much trouble. They hadn't anticipated the Phoenix using stealth technology. It was something that only a handful of human ships had, and it was the perfect tool for this moment. The aliens were now blind. Aria's voice was calm, almost cold, as she gave the next order. Target the largest group of enemy ships. We'll hit them hard, fast, and from an angle they won't expect. The Phoenix remained invisible, but its crew worked behind the scenes, preparing for the strike. They had one shot to break the enemy's formation and send them into further disarray. Aria knew that if they missed, they would be trapped in the heart of the enemy's lines. There would be no escape. With the stealth module still in place, the Phoenix slowly inched toward the alien fleet. It wasn't easy to navigate undetected. It required precision and patience. Every crew member on board knew their role and executed it flawlessly. And then, just as the alien fleet seemed to be relaxing, the Phoenix made its move. Now, Aria commanded. In an instant, the Phoenix dropped out of stealth mode, appearing like a flash of light in the darkness of space. The alien fleet wasn't ready for it. The Phoenix unleashed its weapons in one swift barrage, striking at the weak points of the enemy ships with pinpoint accuracy. The massive ships, facing attacks from an unexpected angle, had no time to react. Explosions erupted across their hulls, and several alien ships were knocked out of commission in mere seconds. Direct hits on multiple targets, Captain, Lieutenant Carter reported, his voice filled with surprise. They're panicking. The alien fleet, now disoriented and taking heavy fire, scrambled to retaliate, but it was too late. The human ship had already disappeared back into the darkness, ready to strike again from another unexpected angle. The Phoenix moved like a ghost, striking when least expected, disappearing before the enemy could adapt. Keep the pressure on them, Aria said, her voice sharp. We're not giving them a chance to recover. As the Phoenix continued its attacks, the alien fleet's once unified front began to crack. Ships were losing their formation, their coordination slipping. The fear of the unknown, of not knowing where the next blow would come from, spread like wildfire through their ranks. The aliens, so used to crushing their enemies with overwhelming force, now found themselves on the defensive. They were disoriented, their tactics ineffective against a human ship that fought in ways they couldn't predict. Humanity's ingenuity, its ability to think on its feet and adapt quickly, was proving to be its greatest weapon. They're starting to retreat, Captain, Ensign Park said, her voice filled with disbelief. The fleet commander is calling for a fallback. For a brief moment, the crew of the Phoenix allowed themselves to breathe. Though the battle was far from over, the enemy was retreating, but not without a fight. The human crew had done what no one expected. They had turned the tide of the battle using nothing but their wits, their resourcefulness, and their unyielding will. Don't stop now, Aria urged. We keep hitting them. We finish what we started. The Phoenix pressed on, relentless in its attack. The aliens had underestimated humanity before, but they were starting to realize that the humans were not the underdogs in this fight. They were the ones who would change the rules of war forever, turning the tide. The Phoenix had caused a ripple in the once impenetrable alien fleet. What had started as a chaotic fight was slowly beginning to tilt in humanity's favor. The alien ships, once perfectly aligned and organized, were now fragmented, disoriented, and scrambling to recover from the devastating strikes that had come from nowhere. The aliens were losing control, and they didn't know how to adapt to an enemy that didn't play by the rules. Captain Aria Williams stood at the command console, her eyes sharp as she watched the tactical display. It was clear that the alien fleet wasn't acting like the well-coordinated fighting force it had been just an hour ago. The once unshakable confidence of the alien commander had turned into something else. Doubt. Captain, we've broken through their outer defenses, Lieutenant Carter reported, his voice steady, but with a hint of amazement. Several of their ships are disabled, and their formation is falling apart. The commanders no longer issuing orders as quickly. Arya allowed herself a small, fleeting smile. They were succeeding. Against all odds, humanity was turning the tide. But they weren't done yet. If they hesitated now, the enemy would regroup, and everything they had fought for would be lost. "Keep pushing forward," Arya commanded. "We have them on the ropes. Let's finish this while they're still disorganized." The crew of the Phoenix had seen the signs. They knew the moment they had worked so hard to create was here. The aliens, so sure of their victory, were beginning to retreat in the face of their own confusion. And the human crew wasn't about to let up. "Target their command ship," Arya ordered, her voice steely. "If we can take it down, the rest of their fleet will fall apart. We take out their leader, we take out their will to fight." A wave of focus washed over the crew as the Phoenix sped toward the heart of the alien fleet, once again using their agility and stealth to avoid direct confrontation. The alien fleet's remaining ships tried to regroup, but their command structure was in shambles, unable to coordinate a defense fast enough to stop the humans. "Captain, we've got a clear shot," Ensign Park called out. "We're in range to strike the command ship." "Take it," Arya said firmly. "This is it. Make it count." The Phoenix opened fire with all its remaining power, focusing its attacks on the alien flagship, which had become a slow-moving target. The ship's shields were weakening from previous damage, and the Phoenix's strikes were landing with precision, aimed at the ship's weak points. Explosions erupted across the alien flagship's hull, and the mighty ship trembled under the assault. "They're taking heavy damage, Captain," Carter said, his voice a mix of awe and disbelief. "The flagship's shields are failing." Arya watched as the alien flagship began to lose power. The alien commander, desperate to regain control, ordered a full retreat, but it was too late. The Phoenix was relentless, its fire cutting through the enemy's defenses with surgical precision. Another strike hit the flagship's engines, and with a violent shudder, the alien ship veered off course. "We've done it," Ensign Park shouted, her voice cracking with disbelief. "Their command ship is crippled." The ripple of fear spread throughout the alien fleet. The flagship, the heart of their operation, was no longer functional. Without it, the rest of the alien ships began to falter. They lacked the coordination they once had. The remaining commanders attempted to salvage the situation, but it was clear. The battle was slipping away from them. Their forces were disarrayed, their morale shattered. "Prepare for the final strike," Arya said, her voice calm but filled with purpose. "We finish what we started." The crew of the Phoenix continued their assault, now picking off the alien ships one by one. The once mighty fleet, having underestimated humanity, now found itself in a losing battle. The human ship, with its crew of just a handful of brave souls, had brought an empire to its knees. And then the unthinkable happened. The alien fleet commander, now faced with the reality of defeat, ordered the retreat. The remaining ships, unable to continue fighting effectively, began to pull back, retreating into deep space, leaving Earth's orbit in silence. The Phoenix had done the impossible. "Enemy fleet in retreat," Ensign Park reported, her voice breathless with astonishment. "They're pulling back, Captain. We've won." The command center erupted into cheers and applause, but Arya stood motionless, her gaze fixed on the display. She had led them to victory, but her mind was already working, calculating the next steps. The alien fleet might have retreated, but Arya knew that this wasn't the end of the story. "Hold the celebrations," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "We've won this battle, but we must remain vigilant. This isn't the last we'll see of them." Lieutenant Carter turned to her, his face filled with respect. "You've done it, Captain. We've done it. Humanity has shown them that we will never back down." Arya nodded, a slight smile touching her lips. "We've shown them that humanity fights back. Always." The Phoenix had done what was thought impossible. A single ship, against a fleet of thousands, had turned the tide of battle and given Earth a victory that would be remembered for centuries. Humanity had proven to the galaxy that they would not be crushed, not by force, not by numbers. Their greatest strength wasn't in their weaponry, but in their spirit. The alien fleet had retreated, but one thing was certain. Humanity had earned the respect of the universe, and the Phoenix had become a symbol of their resolve. The ultimate victory. The silence after the battle was almost surreal. The Phoenix floated among the remnants of the alien fleet, its once formidable enemies now scattered across the vastness of space, retreating into the unknown. The stars shimmered above, their light untouched by the chaos of war. But to the crew of the Phoenix, it felt like a new dawn was breaking, one born from the ashes of what had seemed like certain defeat. Captain Aria Williams stood at the command console, her eyes scanning the empty space where the alien fleet had once been. The battle had been long, intense, and filled with moments of doubt. But in the end, humanity had prevailed, not through sheer numbers or firepower, but through ingenuity, determination, and the unbreakable spirit that made humans unlike any other species in the galaxy. Captain Ensign Park said, her voice almost reverent, "The last of their ships have entered hyperspace. They're retreating. Earth is safe." Aria let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. The weight of the victory settled over her, a quiet satisfaction. She had known that humanity would rise to the challenge, but even she hadn't imagined how quickly they would turn the tide. Against all odds, the single ship, the Phoenix, had held its ground and won the day. The crew, once tense and nervous, now began to relax, smiles slowly breaking out across their faces. It was a victory unlike any other, and they had earned it. They had stood against a superior force and emerged victorious. "Let's not forget why we're here," Aria said, turning to face her crew. This wasn't just about survival. It was about sending a message. Humanity will never bow down. We will fight. We will adapt. And we will win. Her words resonated with the crew, and they nodded in agreement. They had fought for their planet, for their people, and for the future. They had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans would never give up. The aliens had learned that the hard way. As the Phoenix began its return journey toward Earth, the crew gathered on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The battle was over, but their journey was far from finished. There would be other challenges, other threats to face. But for now, they had won. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's resilience, and Aria knew that this victory would be remembered for centuries to come. "Do you think they'll come back?" Lieutenant Carter asked, his voice quiet as he stared out at the stars. Aria paused, considering his question. "They might. But next time, they'll know better than to underestimate us. The galaxy has learned that humanity isn't to be taken lightly." The crew stood in silence for a moment, contemplating the vastness of the universe and the power of the human spirit. For all the technology, for all the advanced weaponry that the alien empire had, none of it could match the unyielding will that burned in every human heart. That was humanity's true strength, their ability to adapt, to innovate, and to fight when the odds seemed impossible. As the Phoenix entered Earth's orbit, the crew knew they had made history. The world would soon know of their victory, the story of how one ship, against all odds, had taken on an entire fleet and emerged triumphant. The humans had faced down the galaxy's most feared empire and proven that they could not be crushed. The Phoenix's journey was only the beginning. There were still many unknowns out there, and many more battles to fight. But one thing was certain. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. The universe had witnessed their courage, and now it would respect them. "We did it," Lieutenant Carter said, a grin spreading across his face. "We really did it." Aria smiled, her gaze fixed on the Earth below. The battle may have been over, but the legacy of this victory would last forever. "We did," she replied softly. "And we'll keep doing it. Every time the universe challenges us, humanity will never stop fighting. And with that, the Phoenix continued its journey home, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. The story of their victory would be told for generations to come, a reminder that no matter the odds, no matter the enemy, humanity would always rise to the challenge.